Hi peeps, this is Dark Shades, and today's video is going to be about pensioners. Now, do I look like a pensioner? The stereotypical pensioner? I don't think so. The definition of a pensioner conjures up images of an old person with a walking stick and a zimmer frame who's around, back in the day it was 55 and 60 and they looked really old. Today's pensioners look a little different. They look a bit like me, or do they? A pensioner is now someone who is eligible to withdraw their government pension, which could be the age of 66, 68, or maybe even 75, depending on the year that you're born. Unless, of course, you're getting an occupational pension, which is the pension you get from your workplace. And depending on when you started working there, you may be able to draw that out at about 50, 55 or thereabouts, depending how long you were in it. So now, I was fortunate enough to be born in 1952. They call us the third age. And I drew my pension when I was 63. And because of that, I can draw my pension and I can still work, which is absolutely brilliant. So for those of us who are born in the 1950s who need an extra bit of money and who enjoy their job, we can still work and draw our pension. And it means that we are quite, not affluent, but we can live comfortably. It means that as long as you have a healthy body and mind, now is probably the best time of our lives. We can pay for holidays, join a gym, follow our dreams and aspirations, buy our creature comforts. We know what we want sooner. And we're unlikely to argue with friends, with spouses, and we're more likely to have the ability to express our needs and our wants, even though some of us, we do still have a difficulty depending on how we were raised. Like, Asian people, they tend to be quite demure and submissive. And so they, even regardless of their age, they may not be assertive. Sometimes I'm not assertive because of old school values and believing that, people in power, people in authority have dominion over you, and you're supposed to respect what they say and, have a certain demeanour when you're relating to them. But apart from that, I find that I do have the ability to express what I want and what I need. I'm much more patient and tolerant. I can be myself again. We go through those periods of when you're 20, you're trying to please someone else, 30, you're trying to please your spouse or your partner. That's right up until about 40 or 50 if you're still with them. And then you reach a place of balance where you're quite happy with who you are, how you look, how your life is, hopefully, I have to say that, because sometimes people's circumstances can change that. Poor choices can change that. And you might be in your 60s and you don't have a job. You wasn't working all the time. You might not have the full government pension. You might not work in a place. You might have been working in a private place and not have an occupational pension. So your financial circumstances might not be the same. But the good thing is that they've taken away the retirement age, and you can work for as long as you like. So regardless of your age, as long as, like I said, you're healthy in mind and body, at least you can get that extra income, whether it's temping, whatever it is, you can actually make money now, or more money than you would have otherwise if you was just dependent on your government pension. And yes, of course, we can't take away the good memories. For me, my memories, I think I lived in the best era. I'm sure most people will say that. But because I lived I was born in the 50s, of course, to me, the 60s and the 70s were the best. That was a time of Alton Ellis. That was a time of Delroy Wilson. That was a time of Dennis Brown, the early Dennis Brown. That was a time of Bo Diddley. A time of, Fats Domino. That was my dad's time, really. But Benny King, all of those people, all of that music. That's how I grew up. I grew up with the mods and the rockers. You know, I was actually a skinhead back in the day. I did start being a mod, and I had my little mini skirt, my big belt, my platform shoes, really about 4-inch platform shoes. I always used to wear wigs, so you know, I put them up into little pigtails and stuff. And then I became a skinhead, and I had I never forget this, I had a tan coloured suit, tonic suit, mohair and tonic. Oh, wicked. And I had a Ben Sherman, man. And me and my brother used to look bad because he used to have his Ben Sherman, he used to have his cropped jeans, he used to have his Dr. Martens. He was a skinhead too, but he was a more of a rebellious skinhead. I was a more demure skinhead. And so, yeah, and sometimes I would straddle both sides and go on the rocker side because I used to like their motorbikes. So we'd go up and down Parkside, which is in Dollis Hill, scoot down those hills, you know, that big hill on Parkside in Cricklewood, well, Dollis Hill, and come back up, and yeah. And then, of course, if you were born in my era was Lovers Rock in the 80s. I managed to benefit from that as well. Oh, Carol Thompson, Gene Adibambo, Peter Honeygale, Winston Reedy, oh man, Don Campbell, Michael Gordon, the Investigators, oh man, the Instigators, the Heptones, the Mighty Diamonds, Aswad, too many to mention, but that was my era. Those were my memories. When I used to go out, we didn't even used to know where we were going. And there'd be a posse of girls, and not many of us would drive. I used to drive. I used to have this Hillman Hunter. And I never forget, it was my first car. And I had a Hillman Hunter, so I'd have about 3 girls in the back, and we'd be going up Kensal Rise mostly, and we'd be listening out for the music. Because what would happen is rumours would spread around, and we would be listening to the music, listening out for the speakers. We didn't know the dress, we only knew the rough area. And so we would be driving up one road, driving up the next road, cutting a corner. Then we'd be looking for other black people in cars, and we'd be following them, and it was like the blind following the blind. But you know what? Eventually we'd find out where the rave was. Someone would know. We'd go in. If it was a birthday party, we used to say, oh, I'm Sonia, I'm Maxine, you know, the popular names, so that whoever opened the door would say, oh, yeah, you know, I'm an old Sonia, I'm an old Maxine, or whatever. Not really checking the face, but we'd get in that way. Those times I used to social smoke. I never used to smoke properly, but I'd go in there and I'd have my packet of St. Moritz or my Dunhill, you know, the extra long one, just posing with it really. And then I'd have my Baby Sham or my Cherry Bee or my Snowball. The guys would have their Tenants and their Special Brew. Oh man. And then when you get into the dance, you just used to stand up, and then somebody pull you for your dance, and then you just hook up, and it's just pitch black, you know. And we used to have things called the shebeen as well. The shebeen was like an illegal dance where you used to go. It used to be on the side of a house, and you'd pay maybe £1 to get in, and pitch black and pure smoke, and you just go in there and dance till daylight. But in the house parties, they were nice too, and sometimes you do the same thing. You get pulled for a dance, you know, you bend up. I remember I used to be so agile back in the day. We'd gone all the way back, you know, all the way down, and me in it, you know. And oh man, memories. When you reach my age, we have so much. We have so much. And also, when you think about your first job, I remember my first job, I was international filing clerk. I used to get £6.50 a week. And I remember my first job, and I remember how I excelled. So, you know, pensioners, yes, we have our age behind us, but we also have our memories. We have our wisdom. And that's another thing. Just because we're older, we're not necessarily wiser. We can only recount experiences that we've been in and actually experienced, and then based on those experiences we can tell our children, oh look, if you do that, this might happen. Most kids, they don't listen to you anyway, so everybody's got to find out their own way usually. But at least when they say older is wiser, it does mean that it's more than likely they've experienced what you're about to experience or will experience, and then they can let you know so you don't have to make the same mistake. So it's really great being the age I am, and maybe I'm saying that because I am healthy in mind and body, and I often wonder how I am the way I am. You know what I mean? You know, I'm not like all friends in my age group. I mean, some of my friends in my age group, they look quite old, to be honest. I shouldn't really say that, but some of them do. Some of them have decided that to adopt the stereotype of what a 65-year-old person should look like. And so they start wearing, you know, clothes, respectable clothes in quotes. They have some funny little wigs on. You know, I go out and I see some people, you know, they have those wigs like those people used to have in the Pentecostal church. You know, them lopsided and, you know, them look good and they look wiggy. You know what I mean? This day and age, you don't have to have a wig that looks wiggy. The other day, I forget where I went, this woman had on a wig and you could see all underneath the back, you know, just kind of stick out. I'm just like, and the front just looked like a hat. And I'm like, you know, isn't there anybody in the house that can tell you to fix your wig? Because I know my mother is 92. And my mother wears her wigs proper. She don't wear those little funny wigs that when you reach certain age, especially when you're old in your 80s, 90s, and you're wearing them black wigs. They don't look right. They make you look old. They make you look funny. And that's what makes you actually look older. I mean, when you can embrace your age and you can actually enhance what you have. Like my hair is probably grey if I allowed it to grow. But it's not far from what it is now. Now, what I notice now is if I let my hair grow at the sides, it's a different colour than what it is on top. So I don't know if I was to let my top grow, but I've still got black roots, so it doesn't look nice. So I just bleach the top and I'm good to go. So where am I going with this? I'm talking about the stereotype of pensioners. And it's not necessary for you to look at a pensioner and think she's past it. Now, the sad thing about being the age I am is because we live in an ageist society. And I get really frustrated about how we're portrayed as pensioners. Oh, that's why it was so difficult. 2 P's. You know, I get phone calls about my funeral arrangements. I get cold calls trying to drag me into a scam because they're assuming, you know, these people, they know your age. They're assuming you're bloody stupid because you're bloody in your 60s. You know what I mean? They assume that we're useless and unattractive. And you know how I know that? Because if I was to go online and nobody was to see my face or the way I dress, and I was to go online and put my age is 65, boom, I wouldn't even get a look in. Nobody ain't looking at me or my profile if I've got a big old 65. And if I do have a 65 and somebody does respond to that 65-year-old, you want to see how them look. They look like they're about 90, ready to fall, you know, at the bottom of their bloody heap. Where may I go with that? Nah, man, I might be 65, but I have a young spirit. I ain't going with nobody who don't look after themselves. Sorry. Ideally, I would like to meet somebody my age, and I shouldn't say me because I am in a pseudo relationship, but ideally I'm talking about now. So ideally I'd like to meet somebody my age who is my level, but because of the way I look, I attract younger men, and because I attract younger men, I find it difficult, you know, to relate to them. And, you know, because there's like, you know, 10, 15 years, it's a lot of years, you know, of different experiences, and you know, we can't really rap about the same things because we're in two different. You know, if I say, oh, I like, so I was to say, oh, I liked, like, say, Benny King then, or Fats Domino. He's probably like, who's that? Never heard of him. And I'll have to, oh, you probably weren't even born then. You know what I mean? And I find that, you know, not frustrating because, you know, there's nothing wrong with dating younger guys. But personally, I would prefer to date somebody my age. The only thing is that most men my age look like don't look after themselves at all. Most of them. I'm not saying all, but most of them, they don't look after themselves. It's like they've given up and they've decided that because they're in their 60s, they don't have to try. This is what a 60-year-old man must look like. You know, they're grey, and it's fine to be grey because I think, you know, those silver heads are absolutely beautiful on a black man. You know, they call them silver fox. And, you know, but you have to have it cut and shaped, and that it has to look proper. Even if you've got dreadlocks, you can fix it in a way where it look good. You know what I mean? I'm not really a dreadlocks person, but, you know, I don't kind of diss them because they have locks. No, I'm not going to do that. But all I'm saying is that, you know, you can taper it and make it look good. You don't have to have it look all scraggly. Some of them, all their locks are falling out and they have some big old gap. What's that about? And then I'm going to try if you hide it with the locks. I don't know what that's about. And then, you know, I'm not saying you can't have a big belly, you know, but it's not necessary once you pass a certain age to have a big belly. Usually, unless you've got an illness, it means you're either drinking too much beer, drinking too much Guinness, drinking too much something, or eating too much something, and you're not doing things in moderation. And it just means that you've decided, you know what, I can't be asked. I've reached a certain age. If anybody wants me, this is how they have to accept me. So that is the frustration I have at my age, looking for a compatible mate and settling for somebody who's younger and who's not compatible really. You know, but very nice person. You know, we do a lot of things together, and so, you know, but I say it go. It's not a perfect world. So why are we doing more now as we get older? I think it's because we're more aware of our mortality. You know, when you reach my age, I think a week don't pass and you hear say somebody dead, and usually somebody you know. So you're more aware of your mortality. Sometimes if I get a pain in my stomach or in my chest, I'm like, oh my God, this is it. It's time to die. I lie on my bed, I cross my arms, I leave the front door open, and I just say, you know, leave the will on the side, and I'm just ready to go. It's just like, just let it not be painful, too painful. So yeah, there's always that thought of mortality, that any time now you can go. And when I think about my mum, she's 92, very, very strong woman, but I can see she's struggling with pain more than anything else. So that's another thing. As you get older, there's a risk of getting, you know, aches and pains. I'll always remember when I was young, old people in quotes used to say, oh, I've got aches and pains. I used to think, what are those aches and pains? And aches and pains, they can come from nowhere, you know. You don't even have to hit yourself. Sometimes you think something has to develop to get an ache and pain, but it's not. It's like your body is naturally degenerative, of course, because can you imagine 65 years working every single day? And like me, I'm on the go. So I'm definitely pushing my poor little body to the limit. So every little part I have use, you know what I mean? So I am not, but I will still get the occasional ache in my arm or something. So yeah, and you can't, and the thing is, some people say, oh, when you get my age, you know, you get arthritis. There's a woman at work, she's 35, and she's got rheumatoid arthritis in her hands. It's got nothing, it doesn't have to be age related. So if you've got a picture of a pensioner falling apart, then I'm sorry for you, because that's not necessarily the case unless they choose to go in that direction. So now, what opportunities are there for pensioners? Well, that's another thing. If you put your age on an application form for a job and you're a pensioner, you ain't going to get called in. I saw a program on the TV, and they were getting rid of CVs of people who were 45 and over, let alone me, 65. Well, I'll be 65 in September. But yeah, you know, they were just getting rid of CVs. So when you're thinking about opportunities at this age, you have to think about, what can I do for myself? What are my talents? Can I start my own business? Do I have the wherewithal to start my own business? If you don't, like I said, and you're still healthy in mind and body, you can take on a course. There is nothing stopping you from doing whatever you want to do at this age. So the lovely thing is that if you have grandchildren, oh my God, I never thought that I would like grandchildren. I never used to want even people to know my age, to be honest. I used to be so, like, if I used to go out with my daughters, I'd say, don't call me mum, because, you know, I used to feel old. And then, you know, when I used to go out with my daughters, I used to have these young men checking me, you know, and I used to think, and when one of them said mum, I'm like, what are you saying mum for? I'd get vexed, you know. And it's like the guy was saying, what do you mean mum? And then, of course, the cat's out of the bag. But most of the time, they couldn't call me mum when we used to go out raving, because I didn't want them stealing my joy. You know what I mean? So that was another thing, you know. And it's not because I was embarrassed for my age. You know what it was? People stereotype. Most people, even my GP, he said to me, well, he was talking to me and it looked like he was giving me the eye at first. And then I don't know what made him look at my age, and he kind of was shocked, and he said, 65? 65? He said, you're the age of my mum. He said, but you don't look like a 65. You don't dress like a 65-year-old. And I said to him, how does a 65-year-old dress? And he said, not like you. Yeah, but I get his point. But my point is that as soon as somebody knows your age, especially in this age of society, they treat you differently. They have different expectations. They start judging you. Oh, you know, you're 65. Should you really be dressing like that? You know, oh, maybe you can teach me a few things. You know, all of a sudden, because you're older, you can teach people stuff. You can do things for people. You can help them. It's like what you have, you don't deserve it. You should be passing it down kind of thing. And that's how it go. So, that's the reason why I don't like telling my age, because I know, like if a man was to check me now, right, seeing me as I am now, providing they like the little short hair and thing. But even when I wear my wigs, I look even younger, to be honest, some of them. But if a man was to approach me and I was like this without my wig, and he was there rapping with me, because somebody said I don't even talk old. I don't know how old people talk, but he's going to just chirp me as he would chirp anybody in their maybe 40s and 50s, which is what I'm told I look like. So a 40 or maybe a 50-year-old man will talk to me in a way he would. I know there was this 50-year-old man, he looked about bloody 80. He had the nerves to come chirp to me. He thought he'd struck gold. He thought I was some like a young thing. And I was interested in him. The only reason I was talking to him is because I thought he was in my age group. And he wasn't even in my age group. He was like 15 years younger than me. He looked like an old man. So it's the stereotyping I don't like, why I keep my age to myself. Well, now I'm broadcasting it to the world, but you know what? You reach a stage where you just said, cha, what difference does it really make? You know, at some point, people will find out what your age is. But in relationships, I think it's best to keep it under wraps, because then a person gets to know you as an individual. and your age doesn't matter after that. But I know it matters in the beginning, because I remember I went to this party and I was dying for a dance, you know, and I was in Manchester. I'm thinking to myself, oh, come no man, don't ask me for a dance this time. Because you know what, I'm used to being asked for a dance, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's beside the point. Anyway, next thing I know, going home in the car, my friend husband says, boy, you know how much man ask about you? I said, really? I said, so how come I didn't get a dance then? Hear him. Oh, I told him you're 65. I'm like, what? How dare you? At least allow me to tell them that when I'm ready. But it just showed me that what I'm saying is true. They no longer saw me as an attractive woman. They saw me as a 65-year-old woman, probably falling apart, probably who has no sex drive or whatever stereotype they give a woman who is 65. So, and my mum always used to say that to me, you know. She always said to me, Myrna, you don't have to tell anybody your age. You know, don't tell people your age because you don't look your age. But I battle with that because I think to myself, they're going to find out anyway. But what she meant is exactly what I'm saying now. You don't have to tell him up front how old you are. And sometimes my kids' ages is a giveaway. Like somebody would say, oh, have you got kids? Like if you meet somebody, have you got kids? Yeah, how old are they? Now I just say they're over 21. You know, I tell them they're big age there. You know, I tell them that. I'm sorry. Anyway, so that's another thing that you have to be careful about being a pensioner, so to speak. I even hate the word pensioner. I hope they come out with some new phrase. And I don't even like the word retiree. I've got no intention of retiring. I love my job. And as long as I can do it and I can do it well, I'll work. And that will give me a good quality of life. So does age matter? Yes, it does. It matters if you tell them up front. It doesn't matter once they get to know you, they realise who you are, they like who you are. And my fella, I didn't tell him until I was like 8 months down the road. And I forget why I told him. I think it's because he started getting a bit serious about something. And I said to him, you know how old I am? And I made him guess. No, I said to him, what's the oldest person you would go out with? And now he's 53, right? I said, what's the oldest person you'd go out with? He says, 50. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, I wouldn't go out with anybody older than 50. I said, okay, then. I said, well, that puts an end to you and me then. So he says, what do you mean? What do you mean? Well, not 50, 55. I wouldn't get not older than 55. I wouldn't never go out with a girl older than 55. I said, stop, keep changing the goalpost. I said, what's your absolute maximum? 55, man. I wouldn't go out with anybody older than 55. I said, well, we're absolutely done. What do you mean? What do you mean? I said, because I was 63 at the time. I'm 63. And he looked at me. Oh, it don't matter though, Merz. It don't matter. I said, yes, it does, because you just told me 5 minutes ago that's your absolute maximum. So why are you now compromising yourself to deal with me now when I'm nearly bloody 10 years older or 13 years older, whatever it is, than your maximum? Why would you compromise that? But the point I'm making is that he'd got to know me as an individual, not as a 65-year-old woman. If I told him 65 in the beginning, he would have had all kinds of ideas and expectations. He probably thought I wouldn't want to rave, probably thought I'm can't walk, probably thought I'm, I want to use the bathroom every minute. He probably thought all my parts were falling apart. You know what I mean? So it's amazing. So age does matter. Also, you have to think about, I have a limitation that I would not go out with somebody younger than my eldest daughter. And, I'm fast saying I just want to go out with somebody who's in my own age group who looks good. But yeah, but as long as it matters if you want kids, of course, it matters depending on what kind of activities. I mean, even though I'm active, I'm not going to go on no skyscraper. I'm not going to go no deep sea diving. I'm not going to go mountain climbing. I'm not going to go skiing. And I wouldn't have done that when I was 16, 18, 20. So that's got nothing to do with my age. And of course, you've got the body clock, which means, you know, some women, they go through menopause when they're 40. I went through my menopause when I was 40, so I don't have all of them kind of schisms going on. I don't have all the withdrawal, the moodiness. I don't have all of that. And I think that probably makes a difference as well. So how I feel now, I feel a bit rebellious. I feel that I'm a flagship for pensioners. I feel that my sense of style tells people, look, you don't have to conform. And at work, I know I'm their role model. When they look at me, they're just like, I don't know how you do it, Myrna. I don't know how you do so much stuff. I don't know, you know, your swimming classes, you're doing yoga, you DJ, you do this, you do that. And I'm like, it's nothing. You know what I mean? It's all pleasure. It's all creative. It's all one and the same thing. Some of them relaxing. I like to have a balance. Use my brain, use my body, and use my heart in most things I do. I'm very God-fearing, which helps. You know, I thank God every day for my life, for keeping me safe, for keeping me healthy. And I think spiritual awareness, having some spiritual element in your life is absolutely a must, because it helps you overcome your fears and your certain obstacles. Also, at my age now, I'm aware of my foibles. I know I'm difficult to live with. I know that I can be a bloody pain because I don't like certain things. You know what I mean? But I don't even think that's got anything to do with my age. But it means I'm more likely to stand up more for what I don't like, and I'm more likely to mention it. But if I do mention it now at this age, it would be more sensitive, I'd be more empathetic. I'd be more, you know, I'm not going to say, oh, why aren't you washing out the sink after yourself? Why are you leaving all that bloody mess in the sink? I'm more likely to say, oh, babes, you know, if you can, just clean up the sink for you after you've finished. You know what I mean? It's a totally different, you still get your point across, but whereas when I was younger, I might make a whole heap of, you know, song and dance about it. I wouldn't do that now. And like I said, I'm conscious we live in an ageist society. I'm not going to be a part of that. I'm going to defy that stereotype, and provided I can get up and walk and dance and live and enjoy my life, I'm sure going to do it, being a pensioner or not. Yeah, so that's it then. I hope you liked this video. It's called, you know, what is your definition of a pensioner? What does a pensioner look like, or how is a pensioner portrayed? But anyway, it's to do with pensioners. And do I look like a pensioner? Definitely not. This is Dark Shades, over and out.